Hi, Megan here with Megan's Hobbies, and today I'm going to be working on a Husqvarna chainsaw that is not oiling the chain like it should be. Um, so this particular model is a Husqvarna 440. I bought this new several years ago, and I think I take pretty good care of it. So I'd like to see sort of what the problem is here with this thing not oiling. I looked up online, like, typical symptoms or typical problems to this. So we'll just take a look, open this up, we'll take a look at it. But one of the ways you know that your chainsaw is not oiling right is, you hold it up to something like wood or just any sort of surface, and you should be able to splash a bunch of oil on it when you run this. So let me start this thing up, and I'll show you a little bit of oil comes out, but not a lot. So I'll demonstrate that here. I'll demonstrate that on this box right here, this clean cardboard box. So we'll get this thing started up. Put this thing up in 6 pumps here. Usually give it more than 6. And this thing is full of chainsaw lubricant and 2-cycle fuel already. And I was using this yesterday when I discovered that it was not oiling all that well. Alrighty. And by the way, normally I do wear hearing protection if I'm using that thing for more than just a startup. Alright, so all of that through just a little bit of oil here. So the thing's not totally broken. It's clogged, I would guess, maybe with wood chips probably, but we'll open it up and take a look at it. But you can see there's some oil being thrown here, but not enough to cool and lubricate this chain effectively. I'm probably going to have to sharpen it. I hope I didn't ruin the chain. If I did, I always keep at least 2 spares. I usually buy these 18-inch Husqvarnas. These are like 20 bucks or 22 or something. They're not that much. But I try to sharpen it. I use this. I looked a lot into sharpening tools, but I use this this steel sharpener. This is a 0.325 inch chain, and this has all the the round and square files in it, and it makes it very easy to position it properly and sharpen it. And I'll demonstrate that too once we're done. But anyways, so this is inadequate. So let's go ahead and open this up. First thing I'm going to do is put my gloves on. So whenever I work on something that's kind of like going to have a lot of oil or sort of liquidy stuff, like my car, right, or something, I'll put these gloves on, but these tear real easy, so then I'll put mechanic gloves on top of that. And I have a pair of gloves dedicated for mechanic use that will be saturated with oil, from my projects. And I have a separate pair of gloves that I use, that I keep, of mechanic gloves that I use for maybe woodworking or lawn stuff. So anyways, I have two separate pairs of gloves. And these things do wear out. It doesn't take long for your index fingers to wear a hole through, then it's time for a new set of gloves. These, you can see the thumb here is starting to wear out of these. Anyways, that's what I do to protect my hands. I like to keep them clean when I'm not doing this stuff. So the first things first is we're going to take this cover off right here. Alright, so I got my chainsaw tool here, and we'll just loosen this up. Alright, you want to do that? Not. Okay, this comes off here. So this thing's pretty dirty. I'm going to clean this up. Alright, so here's the inside of the chainsaw, and I can see there's a lot of chainsaw lubricant in here. It's usually dyed red, so I do see a lot of red liquid in here, which is a good thing. This thing looks like it's gotten hot, which is not a good thing. But anyways, let's get this chain off of this. Yeah, I was cutting a relatively small tree yesterday when I discovered this thing was heating up and then not throwing a lot of oil, so it kind of just happened. Alright, we can pull this bar off. There we go. And I just got to get it just right. So this thing apparently is just tightened by the force of the spinning, and it is, you know, not torqued on or anything like that. So the clutch is out. You could see evidence of overheating. This is got sort of like black in here. We'll clean this up. This thing just pops off. All right, this is the gear that when this thing expands, the centrifugal clutch, right, the springs pull these ends in. This thing starts spinning fast, right? It sits into here, engages this round part, which will then in turn engage the chain, right? Because the chain right, goes around, is driven by this, right? Is driven by this thing, right, which is pretty cool. And then also there's two little slots here you can see, and that engages this here. Let's get this piece of plastic out of here. Now this is the worm drive. Okay, it's metal. So yeah, these metal rings here seem to engage the worm drive here for the pump. So we'll test all that out. We'll clean all this up before we put it all back together. This is coming apart nicely. And you can see this is pretty dirty in here. There is gunk inside of it. There's all sorts of chainsaw lubricant. Put my hands clean here. I'm going to go ahead, pull this Phillips out right here. I'm going to get underneath this plate. This Phillips screw right there. This thing should pop up. Okay. There's our pump here. All right, well, we're just going to clean all this up. You know, I've been told you're supposed to just check this hose. It's possible this hose is clogged up. If it is, but if this hose is pretty pliable. I might run some air through this to check and see. I do have, you know, the pipe cleaners and such. Maybe I'll use those. But we'll just make sure all this gunk is cleared out of here. Clean claws. We'll do some testing and then we'll just basically put it back together to make sure that it in fact is clean or working. Now it's possible there's some seal in here that broke, or you know, something failed, or the pump's not pumping anymore. I mean, all that stuff's possible. But I, from what I've been able to kind of glean on my research, is that it's just likely dirty. This is not that old of a chainsaw, and also, you know, I mean, I'm a homeowner. I don't know. I probably cut trees and logs. I don't know, like, you know, every so often. I use this thing regularly, but not like. I'm not a professional, so it's not used every day. It's used maybe once a month, maybe less than once a month. All right, I really want to make sure this worm gear drive is nice and clean. It's nice and clean. And then let's see if this thing is okay, I got liquid coming out of both ends there. That's a good sign. Alright, and we want to make sure we have a tight seal. This is what grabs the oil from the reservoir, so I just want to make sure that's perfectly clean, so it's getting a good seal against it. Just clean this mounting surface here to the reservoir. Tiny bit of debris in here. I don't want that to keep this thing from getting a nice tight connection. these channels. I don't think that anything's necessarily traveling through there, but okay. So let's put this thing back together. So here's where this Alright, so this is the way this goes back together is this is our worm gear here that comes out, goes in. You can see it's notched. So this thing lays in here. Actually, let's see. This goes. Should put this together back the right way. Alright, so putting this thing back together, we have the oiler nice and clean. I blew this carb cleaner through it. It pours out, you know, we got all these the gears here clean. The rubber is pretty pliable still, which is right, so there's probably no cracks in it. It hasn't dried up or anything. So this is the reservoir here. You can see sort of like lubricant coming out of it. We're going to put this together. I mean, maybe there's a clog inside of that. Very unlikely, but you know, maybe there is. So this is the opening to the pump. This is what drives the pump. When this thing operates, the lubricant comes out of here. It sits in this channel, and this is what makes its way onto the chainsaw blade. So we're going to go ahead and just set this down here. Right, that's what that does. Sits right there. So if we spin this thing, we should maybe get some lubricant to come up out of it. Spin it the right way. Won't be a lot, but we should get something. At least I think we would. No, I'm not getting anything, but I don't know. I just suspect I might be able to get this thing to self-pump, but maybe it needs to be spinning at the, you know, the high speeds that this saw would be operating at for that to work. Alright, well anyways, let's put this thing back together and then we'll just test it out with it running. And if that doesn't fix this, then we'll go ahead and investigate there further. And that fits in that channel there. It's pressed in there nice and tight. Just seeing here if there's any other way to put this in here that it might be not quite. Yeah. Alright, so that's in there. Alright, next this cover here, we want to clean this cover off. It's nice that it's smooth and pretty easy to clean. Alrighty, so just get this thing clean enough. It doesn't have to be totally spotless, but you know, and it is a chainsaw, right? It's going to get oily and filled with chips. Perhaps in the future I'll just clean my chainsaw more often to avoid this from happening. Okay, so this thing's pretty clean. This thing just sits down like so over these two legs, like that, and I have it backwards like that. There we go. There's the oil there. Let's see here. Let's see if this thing's, let me make sure this thing just fits all the way in. I don't want there to be any reason for this thing not to fully seat. Try that again. Feels like it's okay, there's a single Phillips screw here that holds this thing right here in the center. Snug that up good. Okay. Alright, next is this worm drive gear. Let's clean this thing off. Yeah, I just want to make sure these are these metal slots here are free of free of anything causing the gears not to mesh properly. And I don't see any plastic worn out here, right? Because this this is what engages with this part right here. These two lugs here engaging these notches. That's how that turns. Alright, so let's go ahead and slide this thing down. Alright, and that would be right, spinning the oiler now. And it feels like it's, moving nicely. This came off, this metal ball bearing here set. This looks like it's in pretty good shape. We'll just clean that off. This thing does look like it got warm from yesterday's unfortunately. I tell you what, I was about halfway cutting down a small tree when I realized this thing was not lubricating properly. And I do mean a small tree, so I had to finish it, but yeah, there's evidence of this thing being overheated too. Maybe I'll just order a new one of these. But anyways, this goes around here. Make sure this, I don't know if there's this thing looks to be bi-directional. Clean this up too. Clean this clutch out. Assume this thing should be free of debris and another piece out here. Yeah, this thing you can see got overheated too. Those rainbow sort of colors that occur when metal gets hot. Alright, now before I throw that cover on, I assume this whole area gets lubricated with that very oil, but I'm going to go and just put a drop of oil on that ball bearing. You can just use this chainsaw lube here. Alright, I'll just sort of let's get a little bit on here. Pull it off and do it. I'm going to put some on the inside of it too. Yeah, having this thing lubricated can't be a bad thing. Alright, now we can put this back. Remember, this thing locks right in with these plastic notches here. So we'll go ahead and okay, that's set right there. And I'm going to clean off the lubricant with these rags that made it to the inside of this. We don't want oil lube inside here in this clutch, because it'll get thrown around and sure make it less have some difficulty engaging. Alright, we almost have this back together. Next up, the clutch. So there's two sides to it, and I will clean this off. I will just sort of clean the sides here. This thing will be pretty clean. Alrighty. So yeah, there's two sides, right? This was the side facing up with the markings on it. The side bottom has no markings on it. Off is indicated in this direction, so on would be right the opposite, would be counterclockwise. So let's set that on there. There it goes. Yep. And that is there's really no, I'll just do this here to tighten it. I'll just give it a little wrap right in this right here. Okay, that should do it. Alright, so now we can put the bar back on. I'll put this cover here. I can clean this a little better. This thing's pretty dirty. This is the adjuster for the chain tension. I'll show you how to adjust that properly. You want it, tight, but not too tight, obviously. You want just a little bit of slack in the chain. Alright, and this 3-blade looking thing, that's what engages with this right here, which is the safety device. You know, if this thing starts to lift up over your head, it keeps you from, you know, cutting yourself. And we'll make sure that works. And that engages this clutch or band, right, which would go grab this thing. And we definitely want all this clean. Don't want any oil or particles on here. Alright, the next is the bar. This is an 18-inch bar. It came with this chainsaw. So there's a gear, you know, just sprocket here on the end. That looks like it's good. Just make sure this channel is good and clear. Any gunk out. Make sure this is all yeah, and again, back to the overheating, I can see sort of like the evidence of the little bit of bluing from this thing have been heated up. Alright, so you can see this has sort of things etched on it, the size, the type of chain it takes, things of that information. Alright, let's get this chain ready. Now this chain may not be good anymore. I don't know yet. I will find out. We'll see. I'll test it out. I'll give it a sharpening. We'll see if it holds its edge. If not, I will replace it with a new chain. Alright, there is a direction of this chain. There's a bunch of arrows that point how the chain should be rotating. And in this case, the arrows, yeah, are indicating a movement like that. Right, and there's probably some arrows on here too, but I can just tell you that's the way this thing spins is. Okay, push that back. Okay. Alrighty, that's looks pretty good. It's moving, right? So now we're going to take this guy here and pop him on. grab our nut, which is right over here. Let's start this up, see if this thing throws oil like it should be. And if it, then I'll sharpen this chain. This thing should just be pretty snug, doesn't have to be crazy tight. Alright, so this is the adjuster for the chain. You move it clockwise or counterclockwise to move it in or out. So here's an indicator here of which way the chain will rotate. So the arrows point out that way. The arrows on the chain are pointing the same direction. The teeth you can see are facing, so they're going to cause the teeth to dig in to your object that you're trying to cut. Alrighty, let's start this up. Let's see what we got here. Ah, damn it, I got crap all over this thing. Alright, so I can see my oil here. It looks to be about, I don't know, let's say 3/4 full. Wait, that's the fuel. The other oil's over here. I'll open this up to take a look. Now let me clean all this crap off of here. Alrighty. Let me try to get the other camera started. Alright, so we got this thing cleaned up, put back together for the most part. Check the oil levels. Pretty full. Right, lots of oil in there. Okay, good with fuel, good with oil. Let's see if I can do a warm start. Almost. Move this see oil in here. I assume this thing, yeah, this is all, yeah, there's a lot of oil in the bar here. It seems like it's throwing a good amount of oil. So when I ran this thing I ran it pretty hard in the beginning, that's all I got out of it, but I sprayed all of this right here just now. It looks like it's throwing pretty good. So I think we're just clogging up here maybe. But anyways, as far as the tension goes, I mean, obviously I have the tension set on this plate here already. The tension is usually such, you don't want it too tight, but you want the chain to be dropping just a tiny bit on the bottom, but not like where it comes out of the channel all the way, to give it the freedom that it needs to move. Right. You know, you can have it too tight, then it's just binding up and there's just too much friction. But right about that, yeah, I could see, yeah, this thing's covered in oil. This thing's nice and, yeah, this thing is nice and lubricated now. Yeah, there's all sorts of oil all over this bar. You can see it everywhere here. This looks pretty good, I think. Yeah, nice. Get some oil right here. I think we just clogged up with sawdust. That's all it was. Sawdust, saw chips. So yeah, what I think what I want to do now is just sort of generally clean this thing and get the I'll do the sharpening too. This thing doesn't have to be spotless, right? You know, the second you use this thing, you're gonna make it, you know, it's gonna be pretty dirty again. But, okay. All right, so now for the sharpening. I bought this file set I bought. It's a steel, right? Gotta have the right one, .325. It's either this or 3/8, right, or the two sort of sizes. This saw is a .325. And you want to lock this. Yeah, we want to make sure that works. Yep, that seems to be working because unlocked, right, moves freely, locked, stiff. All right, so in order to sharpen this chainsaw. Alright, on the chain here, there's little markings. It's a little engraved slot that shows the angle of the blade, and they alternate. So every other one is, this one's this way, the other one's that way, this one's this way, that way. So you kind of do every other blade. On one, you know, you do every other blade on one side, and then do every other blade on the other side. Now, usually what I do is I mark this with a marker of some kind. So let me go grab my marker set. All right, so I've got this metal marker here that I use for writing on metal and aluminum and things like that. So if I just mark one of these teeth that are kind of far back here, I'll know this tooth I already got. And this will wear off, but eventually. But I just want to mark it for now, so it'll come back around. So you can see this blue here on top of that. Otherwise, it's really hard to know where you started with this here. So you want to start with a tooth that's going that way. This blade has, sharpener has arrows on it, so Okay. Go to the next one. You want to line up these engravings here. Keep those, parallel to the blade, the bar rather. Yeah, let's grab this. This is the last one I sharpened. Release that. Up to there. That's the last one right here. The next one is this guy right here. I don't know if it's kind of lost track. You do a couple twice, it's not the end of the Alrighty. So now we start with the opposites. And now we switch to the other side. And now we go the other direction. Tooth is damaged. It's nice and sharp now. Alrighty. Alright, so this thing's all, you know, sharpened. Alright, feels pretty good. Throwing oil. You could almost paint your house with that. Not quite. Alright, so let's go over and cut some wood. Looks good. There's a bunch of wood over here. All right. Find a spot to mount this camera. Okay, folks. That was pretty good to me. It's cut nice. It's throwing the right amount of oil, it looks like. It's cutting real good. So we'll just have to see if this thing maintained its edge or not. I don't know. I don't know if the metal, lost its hardness due to, getting heated up there. But if this thing does lose its edge soon, I'll just throw a new chain on it. But it looks like it's oiling, and I just have to keep this thing clean in the future. That's all. Okay. All right. Bye.